The starship Erebus hovered at the edge of the Cepheus Nebula, a sprawling cloud of dust and gas illuminated by the light of young, hot stars. Inside the bridge, Captain Elena Mirov stood before the panoramic viewport, her gaze fixed on the swirling mists of the nebula. Her crew, an assembly of the finest minds and bravest souls from across the galaxy, manned their stations, the anticipation palpable in the air. "Looks like a sea of ghosts," muttered Alexei, the ship's pilot, breaking the silence. His eyes were locked on the nebula, a mix of awe and apprehension in his voice. "Hoping to meet some, Alexei?" quipped Dr. Lena Costas, the mission's lead scientist, without taking her eyes off her instruments. "If they can tell us what's on the other side, I might consider it," Alexei shot back, his tone light, belying his unease. Captain Mirov turned from the viewport, her expression unreadable. "Let's remember why we're here. This nebula holds secrets that could change our understanding of the universe. It's our job to uncover them." The crew nodded, their faces a mask of professionalism. Yet beneath their calm exterior, the thrill of the unknown coursed through them. As the Erebus began its slow advance into the nebula, the communications officer, Raj, announced, "All channels to mission control are open and recording. We're ready to make history." "Or become it," Alexei added under his breath, earning a round of nervous laughter. The ship's entry into the nebula was smooth, the advanced shielding deflecting the high-energy particles that danced across the hull. But as they delved deeper, an eerie silence fell over the ship. The usual hum of transmissions and beeps of instruments faded, replaced by the sound of their own breathing. "Is it just me, or did we just enter the universe's biggest dead zone?" Raj asked, his voice echoing slightly in the sudden quiet. "Keep trying to establish a link with mission control," Captain Mirov ordered, her voice steady but tense. As the Erebus penetrated further into the nebula, a sudden flash of light enveloped the ship. Instruments flickered wildly, and the crew was cast into a brief but profound darkness. "What in the stars was that?" Lena exclaimed, her hands flying over her controls, attempting to make sense of the readings. Alexei fought to keep his voice calm. "Whatever it was, it's fried our navigation. We're flying blind." In the chaos, Captain Mirov's voice cut through the tension like a knife. "All hands, brace for impact. We don't know what's out there, but we're going to face it together." The crew tightened their restraints, exchanging glances of determination and fear. As the Erebus ventured further into the unknown, the last thing they saw was the nebula closing around them, swallowing the ship whole before everything went black. The banter among the crew, a mixture of humor and tension, underscored the gravity of their mission and the bond they shared. They were explorers, stepping into the void, not just for the sake of discovery, but for the unspoken understanding that what lay ahead was beyond any of their imaginations. When the Erebus reappeared on the fringes of known space, it was as if the nebula had spat them out without ceremony. The ship was adrift, systems offline, save for the emergency power that bathed the bridge in a dim red light. Alexei was the first to break the silence. "Anyone else feel like we've just been given a second chance by the universe?" Lena, rubbing her temples as if to stimulate recollection, replied, "A second chance to do what? I can't even remember what happened after that flash." Raj, hovering over his console, trying futilely to re-establish communication with any listening post, sighed. "First order of business. Let's figure out where and when we are. Anyone have a calendar? Because I'm pretty sure we've missed a few appointments." The attempt at humor did little to lift the veil of confusion and unease that hung over the crew. Captain Mirov, ever the pillar of strength, rallied her team. "Let's focus on getting systems back online. We need to understand what we're dealing with." As the crew set to work, the camaraderie that had defined their interactions was tinged with a palpable tension. The ship, once a beacon of human ingenuity and curiosity, now felt like a crypt, silent save for the sound of their own efforts to revive it. Hours passed, or perhaps it was days. Time seemed a concept as alien as the space they found themselves in. Eventually, Raj let out a whoop of triumph. "I've got something," A weak signal from a nearby outpost. We're not alone in the universe after all. The news brought a collective sigh of relief, but the celebration was short-lived. As the Erebus was towed to the outpost, the crew was subjected to quarantine and a barrage of questions. They had no answers to give. Their memories of the time lost in the nebula were as blank as the void itself. In the quarantine bay, trying to adjust to the station's sterile environment, the crew found themselves at a loss. Feels like waking up from a dream you can't remember. But you're sure it was a nightmare? Lena mused, staring out the small window to the stars beyond. Yeah, and now we're stuck with the hangover, Alexei added, attempting to lighten the mood. Captain Mirov, however, remained introspective. We were out there for a reason. We can't let this gap deter us from finding out what happened. There's a piece of the puzzle missing, and it's our job to find it. But as the crew tried to piece together their fragmented memories, they found no solace in their unity. Instead, a growing sense of dread began to take root, as if the nebula had left a mark on them, a shadow that clung too closely, whispering of terrors yet to be understood. Their banter, once a source of strength, now served as a thin veil over the growing realization that their journey had changed them in ways they could not yet comprehend. The mystery of their lost time in the nebula was a puzzle they were unsure they wanted to solve but knew they could not ignore. In the weeks following their return, the crew of the Erebus found themselves earthbound, yet far from grounded. The outpost had become a temporary home, a place of safety, yet it offered little comfort from the shadows that lurked in their minds. It was during one of their shared meals, a semblance of normalcy in the otherwise clinical routine of their quarantine, that Lena first broached the subject. Has anyone else been having odd dreams? Her voice was hesitant, a stark contrast to her usual confidence. Alexei, Fork paused midway to his mouth, nodded slowly. You mean the ones where we're walking down endless corridors, feeling like we're being watched? The casual tone he attempted fell flat, the gravity of their shared experience too heavy to lighten with humor. Raj chimed in, a frown creasing his brow. I thought it was just stress, but yeah, those corridors, and the whispers. Can't make out what they're saying, but it feels important, terrifying. The crew exchanged uneasy glances, the realization that their nightmares were not solitary hauntings, but a collective experience sending a chill through the room. Captain Mirov, who had been listening intently, set her utensils down. It seems the nebula left us with a parting gift, shared nightmares. The question is, what are they trying to tell us? The banter that had once defined their interactions took on a new form, a way to navigate the murky waters of their current predicament. Maybe it's the universe's way of telling us to take up a new career, Alexei quipped, though the humor was tinged with unease. Space farming, anyone? Lena offered a wry smile. I'd rather solve this puzzle. There's a pattern here, something our brains are trying to process. Those corridors, the whispers, the feeling of being watched, it's like pieces of a map, but we don't know the destination. The discussion turned to speculation, theories thrown back and forth. Alien contact, a psychological anomaly, a side effect of space travel through uncharted territories. No theory seemed too far-fetched. Yet, as night approached, the levity faded. The prospect of sleep, once a respite, now loomed like a threat. Their quarters, identical and impersonal, felt more like cells, each night a sentence to be served. It's like going to bed knowing you're about to fall into a horror movie you can't wake up from, Raj muttered as they dispersed for the night, the forced laughter failing to mask the underlying dread. The nightmares continued, relentless. Crew members found themselves waking in a cold sweat, the echoes of the dreams fading but the fear lingering. Morning briefings became de facto support sessions, where they would discuss the latest iterations of their dreams, searching for meaning in the madness. One such morning, as they gathered around the table, Lena looked around at her weary companions. We're scientists, explorers. We've faced the unknown before. Maybe it's time we confront this head-on. Study our dreams, document them, look for the message in the madness. Alexei, despite the dark circles under his eyes, managed a grin. What are we waiting for? Let's get to it. After all, who needs sleep? The attempt at humor did little to lift the weight of their situation, but it reaffirmed their resolve. They were a crew, bound not just by their mission, but by the shared ordeal that had followed them back from the nebula. Together, they would face the darkness, searching for answers in the hope of finding peace. The arrival of Dr. Harlan at the outpost marked a new phase in the ordeal of the Erebus crew. A seasoned investigator of space anomalies, his reputation for debunking the unexplained preceded him. The crew, wary yet hopeful, gathered in the conference room to meet him, the air thick with a mix of skepticism and anticipation. Harlan, a man of medium build with sharp eyes that missed nothing, scanned the room. I understand you've been having a collective nightmare, for lack of a better term. I'm here to figure out why. Alexei leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Well, you're going to have a field day with us. We're a regular space oddity. Lena, ever the scientist, was more direct. We're hoping you can help us make sense of these dreams. There's a pattern, a message, we're sure of it. Harlan nodded, his expression unreadable. I've dealt with unusual phenomena before, but nothing quite like what you're describing. Let's start from the beginning. As they recounted their experiences, Harlan listened intently, occasionally asking pointed questions. The crew, for their part, found some comfort in the retelling, as if putting words to their fears helped to diminish them, if only slightly. Raj, trying to lighten the mood, joked, Maybe we stumbled into an intergalactic horror film festival. Do we get prizes for surviving? Harlan cracked a smile, his first since the meeting began. Let's aim for understanding first. Prizes later. The discussion turned technical, with Harlan proposing various theories: psychological effects of deep space travel, a shared delusional disorder, even the influence of unknown cosmic forces. Each theory was more outlandish than the last, yet nothing seemed too far-fetched considering their circumstances. Unknown cosmic forces, that's putting it mildly, Lena remarked, her tone a mix of amusement and exasperation. We're scientists and explorers, not extras in a sci-fi thriller. Harlan leaned forward, his gaze sweeping over the group. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. We'll start with your dreams. Document everything. No detail is too small. The crew set about their task with renewed purpose, each member keeping a detailed log of their nightmares. The act of recording brought a semblance of control over the uncontrollable, a way to fight back against the unseen forces that haunted them. In the days that followed, Harlan became a constant presence, reviewing their logs, conducting interviews, and running diagnostics on the Erebus herself. The ship, silent and imposing in the hangar, was a puzzle box of data and anomalies. As they pored over the logs together, a camaraderie formed between Harlan and the crew. The investigation was grueling, but moments of levity broke through the tension. I never thought I'd miss the boring days of charting asteroid density, Alexei quipped during a late-night data review session, causing a round of weary laughter. Harlan, who had been stoic for much of the investigation, chuckled. Be careful what you wish for. Boredom is a luxury in our line of work. Despite the long hours and the seemingly endless analysis, progress was slow. The dreams, though vivid and terrifying, offered no clear answers, only more questions. One evening, as they gathered to compare notes, Raj sighed heavily. At this rate, we're going to solve the mystery of why coffee is the real fuel of space exploration before we figure out these dreams. Harlan, looking up from his notes, replied, Every piece of data brings us closer to the answer. We just need to find the key. The investigation stretched on, the outpost becoming a crucible in which the resolve of the crew was tested and tempered. Harlan, once an outsider, was now part of their unorthodox family, united by a common goal: to uncover the truth of the nebula and the secrets it held. As the investigation continued, the nightmares persisted, a constant reminder of the ordeal they had endured. Yet, with each passing day, the crew's determination grew. They were no longer victims of their circumstances, but active participants in unraveling the mystery that bound them together. In this relentless pursuit of truth, they found not just the potential for answers, but a deeper understanding of their own resilience. The journey through the nebula had changed them, but so too would the journey to uncover what had happened in those lost hours amid the stars. Dr. Harlan and the crew of the Erebus found themselves huddled around the main console in the ship's dimly lit data archive room, a space seldom used but now central to their investigation. The air was thick with anticipation and the faint hum of the ship's dormant systems. They were about to dive into the corrupted logs, the digital heart of the mystery that had bound their fates together. "All right, let's see what secrets you've been keeping from us," Harlan murmured, his fingers poised over the keyboard. The screen flickered to life, displaying fragmented data and garbled text. Alexei leaned in, squinting at the screen. "Is it just me, or does that look like ancient Earth hieroglyphics? Lena, you're the scientist? Any theories on space hieroglyphs?" Lena rolled her eyes, a smile tugging at her lips. "My degree didn't cover extraterrestrial languages, unfortunately. Let's focus on finding something we can actually read." As they sifted through the corrupted files, their efforts were punctuated by light-hearted banter, a coping mechanism for the tension that underpinned their task. "Found something," Raj exclaimed, breaking the monotony. "Oh, never mind, it's just the captain's secret recipe for her award-winning chili. Important, but not helpful." Captain Mirov, standing at the back of the room, crossed her arms, feigning offense. "I'll have you know that chili has more nutritional value than anything we've found so far." Their laughter filled the room, a brief respite from the gravity of their situation. But as the hours stretched on, their initial optimism waned, giving way to frustration. "This is like looking for a needle in a haystack," Raj muttered, rubbing his eyes wearily. "If the needle was also made of hay." Harlan, undeterred, continued to piece together fragments of data, his focus unwavering. "Patience. The answers are here, we just need to know where to look." It was Lena who stumbled upon the first coherent piece of the puzzle. A partial log entry, time-stamped during their missing time, hinted at an anomaly detected deep within the nebula. "Here, this mentions an object. Not natural, artificial." The crew crowded around her station, their fatigue momentarily forgotten. The log was incomplete, sentences breaking off, data streams corrupted, but it was a start. "An artificial object in the nebula?" Alexei mused aloud. "What were we doing, playing intergalactic hide-and-seek?" "More like hide and don't want to be found," Raj added, his humor masking the unease they all felt. Harlan nodded thoughtfully. "This could be the key we've been searching for. An artificial object could explain the energy pulse that hit the Erebus. We need to find more." Their search became more focused, each member of the crew taking a section of the corrupted logs to analyze. The work was tedious, the progress slow, but the potential discovery of an alien artifact spurred them on. As they worked, their banter continued to serve as a lifeline, keeping the shadow of their shared nightmares at bay. "If we find this thing, I vote we don't touch it," Alexei declared. "Last thing we need is to wake up another decade later with even weirder dreams." Lena chuckled. "Noted. We'll leave the poking of mysterious alien artifacts to the professionals." "Great. We'll add alien artifact poker to the job postings when we get back," Raj quipped, earning a round of weary laughter. The mood in the room was a delicate balance of hope and apprehension. They were on the cusp of a discovery that could redefine their understanding of the universe, or plunge them back into the darkness they had barely escaped. Yet, in the face of the unknown, the crew of the Erebus found strength in their unity, their determination fueled by the shared desire to confront the mysteries of the nebula head-on. With the partial log entry as their guide, Dr. Harlan and the Erebus crew prepared to venture back into the nebula. The atmosphere aboard the ship was one of cautious optimism, mixed with a palpable sense of foreboding. As they approached the nebula's boundary, the familiar swirls of gas and dust seemed to beckon them into its depths once more. "Here we go again," Alexei said, adjusting the ship's trajectory with practiced ease. "Anyone else feel like we're about to jump into the deep end without knowing how to swim?" Raj, monitoring the communication systems, chuckled. "More like diving into a black hole and hoping for the best. But hey, what's the worst that could happen?" "Don't tempt the universe with that question," Lena warned, half-jokingly, her eyes fixed on the sensor readouts. As the Erebus penetrated the nebula, the crew was silent, each member lost in their thoughts, reflecting on the journey that had led them to this moment. The ship's instruments, previously erratic in the nebula's presence, now behaved predictably, a testament to their preparations and Harlan's guidance. "Looks like our upgrades are holding," Captain Mirov observed, breaking the silence. "Keep a close eye on those readings. We don't want any surprises." "Surprises are the least of our worries," Alexei replied, a hint of levity in his tone. "I'm more concerned about our welcome party. You think they'll roll out the red carpet for us?" Lena gave a wry smile. "Let's hope they're fans of unannounced guests." The deeper they traveled, the more the nebula seemed to close in around them. Colors shifted, stars blinked out of sight, and space itself appeared to warp and twist in impossible ways. "It's like navigating a maze with no exit," Alexei muttered, his usual confidence tempered by the nebula's oppressive presence. "Just keep following the breadcrumbs," Harlan reassured him. "The artifact is out there, and it's the key to everything." As they neared the coordinates from the log entry, the ship's sensors suddenly spiked. A structure, massive and unmistakably artificial, loomed ahead, its surfaces reflecting the nebula's eerie light. "There it is," Lena breathed, her voice a mix of awe and apprehension. "Our mysterious artifact." The crew gathered at the viewport, staring in silence at the object that had haunted their dreams. It was both familiar and utterly alien, a contradiction that sent shivers down their spines. "Well, that's definitely not something you see every day," Raj quipped, attempting to break the tension. Alexei nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Looks like we found our needle in the haystack. Now the question is, what do we do with it?" Captain Mirov turned to Harlan, who had been quietly observing the artifact. "We investigate, but carefully. We don't know what we're dealing with." Harlan agreed. "First, we study it from a distance. We need to understand its purpose, its origin. Only then can we decide our next move." The crew set to work, their tasks clear. The artifact, silent and imposing, seemed to watch them in return, a sentinel from another time or place. As they began their cautious approach, the sense of being part of something greater, something beyond their understanding, was palpable. "This is it," Lena said, her voice steady despite the uncertainty. "The moment we find out if we're alone in the universe or not." Alexei, his hands steady on the controls, glanced back at his companions. "Well, if we're about to make first contact, let's at least try to make a good impression." Their laughter, tinged with nerves and excitement, filled the bridge. Ahead of them, the artifact awaited, a silent witness to the mysteries of the nebula and, perhaps, the key to unlocking the secrets of their journey. As the Erebus edged closer to the alien artifact, the familiar walls of reality began to blur. The fabric of space around them twisted, a visual effect so profound it seemed as though the stars themselves were being reshaped. It was a spectacle that defied understanding, and for the crew, a stark reminder of their vulnerability. "Is it just me, or is the universe doing cartwheels around us?" Alexei joked, trying to mask his unease as he navigated the shifting landscape. Lena, her eyes glued to the sensor readouts, replied with a mix of fascination and concern. "If by cartwheels you mean warping the very essence of space-time, then yes, absolutely." The banter, a constant in their journey, took on a desperate edge as reality continued to distort. Encounters with phenomena that defied all laws of physics they knew became frequent, testing their sanity. Raj, attempting to maintain a semblance of normalcy, quipped, "I always wanted to see the universe from a different angle. Just didn't expect it to be this literal." Their laughter was short-lived, however, as the ship lurched suddenly, a silent alarm blaring as it detected an anomaly far beyond their understanding. The artifact, now directly ahead, pulsed with an unseen energy, its surface shimmering with colors that had no name. "Looks like we're expected," Captain Mirov said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Harlan, any bright ideas on how to approach an alien welcome mat?" Harlan, his gaze fixed on the data streaming in, responded with uncharacteristic seriousness. "Carefully. We're not just pushing the boundaries of space exploration, we're rewriting them." As they drew nearer, a sense of dread enveloped the crew, a primal fear of the unknown that gnawed at their resolve. The dreams that had haunted them, the visions of endless corridors and the feeling of being watched, all seemed to emanate from the artifact before them. "It's like looking into the abyss," Lena whispered, her scientific curiosity warring with a deep-seated terror. "And it's staring right back." The closer they got, the more their reality unraveled. Time seemed to stretch and compress, moments of clarity interspersed with visions of other places, other times. The crew found themselves living fragments of lives not their own, experiences that left them questioning the nature of their existence. "I never signed up for time travel," Alexei said, half-joking, after one particularly disorienting episode. "Anyone else feel like we've somehow wandered into the wrong story?" "It's not the story that's wrong," Harlan mused, his voice distant. "It's our understanding of it. We're not just observers. We're part of this narrative, whatever it may be." The banter, once a source of comfort, now served as a lifeline, a way to anchor themselves to reality as they knew it. But even that was slipping away, the artifact drawing them into its influence, reshaping their perceptions and their very beings. "Let's just keep our heads, everyone," Captain Mirov urged, her voice a beacon in the maelstrom. "We've faced the unknown before. We can do it again." But as the Erebus finally reached the artifact, the true nature of their journey became clear. They were not merely explorers, but pawns in a cosmic game beyond their comprehension, their fates intertwined with the alien object that now held them in its grasp. "We wanted answers," Lena said, a note of resignation in her voice. "Be careful what you wish for." The crew braced themselves as they prepared to confront the artifact's mysteries head-on, their camaraderie and shared sense of purpose the only weapons against the descent into madness that awaited them. In the face of the unknown, they stood together, a testament to human resilience and the unyielding desire to seek out the truth, no matter the cost. As the Erebus hovered in front of the artifact, its vastness dwarfing their vessel, the crew prepared to engage with what they had come to understand was not just an object, but a gateway. The air was thick with a tension that bordered on the palpable, the artifact's mysterious energy making the space around it shimmer like a mirage. "Anyone else feel like we're about to knock on the universe's door?" Alexei mused, his attempt at levity doing little to ease the mounting pressure. "It's more like the universe is about to knock us over," Lena retorted, her eyes not leaving the readouts on her console, which flickered erratically as if confused by the anomaly before them. Raj, always one to find humor in the face of the inexplicable, added, "Let's just hope it's a friendly neighbor and not the kind that borrows your tools and never returns them." Their chuckles were cut short as the artifact emitted a low hum, a sound that felt as though it resonated directly with their souls. The sensation was unnerving, an intimate whisper from the cosmos that left them feeling exposed and vulnerable. "Is it just me, or did the universe just say hello?" Raj joked, trying to dispel the eerie atmosphere that had enveloped the bridge. Captain Mirov, standing firm at the helm, kept her gaze fixed on the artifact. "Let's not jump to conclusions. We're here to observe and learn, not to assume we understand the language of the cosmos." The artifact, for its part, seemed to respond to their presence, its surface pulsating with light, patterns emerging that suggested intelligence, or at least intention. Harlan, who had been silent, finally spoke, his voice filled with wonder and an edge of fear. "It's communicating. This isn't just an object. It's a gateway, and it's active." The crew watched in awe as the patterns of light coalesced into a more structured form, a series of geometric shapes that shifted and changed, mesmerizing in their complexity. "Looks like we're in for a light show," Alexei quipped, his eyes locked on the display before them. "Anyone brought popcorn?" Lena, her scientific curiosity overriding her apprehension, leaned closer to her console, trying to decipher the patterns. "This could be a message, a way of communicating. We need to record everything." As the Erebus inched closer, the gateway's hum intensified, a vibration that seemed to echo through the very fabric of the ship. The sensation was disorienting, the boundary between the crew and the artifact blurring as if they were being drawn into its essence. "Feels like we're being swallowed whole," Raj commented, half joking, half serious, as he struggled to maintain focus on his instruments. The artifact then projected a beam of light that enveloped the Erebus, scanning the ship with an intensity that left them feeling like specimens under a microscope. The sensation was uncomfortable, invasive, as if the gateway not only saw them but understood them in a way they could not fathom. "Talk about getting to know your neighbors," Alexei said, trying to break the tension as the beam receded. "I just hope it liked what it saw." The crew was silent, each member lost in their thoughts as the artifact continued its display, the patterns on its surface now clearly interacting with them, responding to their presence. "This is it," Captain Mirov said, her voice steady, commanding. "We're on the threshold of discovery. Whatever happens next, remember why we're here. We're explorers, seekers of truth. This gateway, whatever it may be, is a door to understanding more about the universe and our place within it." As the crew rallied around their captain's words, their resolve hardened. They were the first humans to stand at this crossroads, a point between the known and the unknowable. With a mixture of fear and exhilaration, they prepared to cross the threshold, to step through the gateway and face whatever lay beyond. The banter that had sustained them thus far faded into a solemn silence, a mutual understanding that they were about to embark on the most significant journey of their lives. The artifact, a beacon in the vastness of space, awaited their next move, the key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe held within its enigmatic form. Inside the Erebus, the atmosphere was tense as the crew stood on the brink of discovery. The artifact had ceased its pulsating display, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. The crew, once buoyed by camaraderie and banter, now faced the gravity of their situation with a mix of fear and awe. "Anyone else feeling like we're about to crack open the universe's diary?" Alexei quipped, trying to inject some of his usual humor into the charged atmosphere. Lena, her focus on the data streaming in, replied without looking up. "If the universe kept a diary, I doubt it would be anything we could easily read. Let's just hope we don't accidentally scribble in the margins." The artifact, silent now, loomed before them, its secrets veiled in the stillness. Harlan, deep in thought, finally broke the silence. "What we're about to do. It's more than just a step into the unknown. It's a leap into the very essence of existence." Raj, who had been adjusting the sensors to better understand the artifact's structure, chimed in, "Well, as long as that leap doesn't end with us splatting against the existential wall, I'm all for it." The crew shared a tense laugh, their laughter a brief respite from the enormity of the moment. Captain Mirov, ever the anchor, rallied her team with a nod. "We're here to learn, to discover. Whatever happens, we do it together. Let's find our truth." As they initiated the sequence to engage with the artifact, a brilliant light engulfed the Erebus, transporting the crew beyond the realm of known space. They found themselves in a void, a space where the rules of physics seemed rewritten. Here the artifact revealed its true nature, not just a gateway, but a bridge between realities, a library of universal knowledge encoded in the fabric of space-time. "Looks like we've just been given the keys to the cosmic library," Lena whispered, her voice filled with wonder. "And here, I thought late fees on Earth were bad. The crew, standing at the threshold of comprehension, were awash in streams of data that defied explanation. Images, equations, and patterns flowed through them, a torrent of information that was at once overwhelming and enlightening. Alexei, trying to make sense of the sensations flooding his senses, joked, "Anyone else feel like they're trying to drink from a fire hose? Because I think I just swallowed the universe." The artifact, sensing their readiness, deepened the connection, offering glimpses into the fabric of existence itself. The crew saw the birth and death of stars, the weaving of galaxies, and the delicate dance of particles that formed the foundation of everything. "It's like watching the universe breathe," Raj said, his usual humor giving way to a sense of reverence. "I never thought I'd see something like this." The revelation was intoxicating, a symphony of cosmic truths that resonated with the very core of their beings. But with understanding came the realization of their insignificance, the knowledge that they were but fleeting notes in the eternal song of the cosmos. Harlan, his eyes wide with the weight of their discovery, summed up their experience. "We've seen the truth of existence, the underlying harmony of the universe. But with that knowledge comes the understanding that some mysteries are beyond our grasp, not because they're hidden, but because they're fundamentally beyond our comprehension." The crew, forever changed by the experience, found solace in their shared journey. They had sought answers and found them, not in the form of concrete data, but in the acceptance that the universe was vaster and more intricate than they could ever fully understand. As the light faded and they found themselves back aboard the Erebus, the artifact silent once more, they knew that their journey was both an end and a beginning. The truth they sought was not a destination, but a path, a journey not just through space, but through the depths of understanding itself. "Guess we're all philosophers now," Alexei said, a note of humility in his voice. "Anyone else think that philosophy degree might come in handy after all?" Their laughter, tinged with the profound impact of their experience, echoed through the ship. They had ventured into the unknown, seeking answers, and found instead a deeper understanding of the questions. The universe, with all its mysteries and wonders, remained an open book, a book they had only just begun to read. The journey back from the artifact was marked by a contemplative silence, a stark contrast to the lively banter that had characterized the Erebus's outbound voyage. The crew, each member profoundly altered by their encounter with the gateway, grappled with the enormity of their experience. As the familiar starscape of their home system came into view, Alexei broke the silence, his voice tinged with a mix of relief and melancholy. "Home, sweet home. Never thought I'd miss this view. Makes you appreciate the little things, doesn't it?" Lena, her eyes reflecting the starlight, nodded slowly. "The little things and the big questions. We went looking for answers, and we found more questions. It's humbling." The artifact had not only shown them the vastness of the universe, but had also revealed the depth of their own ignorance. The knowledge they had gained was both a gift and a burden, a treasure trove of cosmic secrets that they could scarcely begin to comprehend. Raj, ever the optimist, tried to lighten the mood. "Well, at least we've got some new stories to tell. That one time we touched the fabric of the universe should be a hit at parties." Captain Mirov, her gaze fixed on the path ahead, responded with a thoughtful expression. "It's more than stories, Raj. We've been given a glimpse of the underlying truth of existence. It's our responsibility to share that, to try and make sense of it for those who haven't seen what we've seen." The Erebus made its final approach, the familiar procedures of docking feeling almost mundane after the wonders they had witnessed. Yet, as they prepared to re-enter the world they had left behind, a world untouched by the revelations that had forever changed them, they understood that their journey was far from over. Harlan, who had been quiet, finally spoke, his voice solemn. "We've crossed a threshold, but the path we're on now is uncharted. The knowledge we've gained is a map with no legend. We must tread carefully, for not all truths are meant to be known." Their return was met with celebration and curiosity, but as the days passed, the crew found themselves adrift in a sea of incomprehension. The dreams that had once haunted them were now replaced by a restlessness, a yearning for answers that remained just beyond their grasp. In an effort to find some grounding, they gathered one evening, much like they had before their journey, looking out at the stars from the observation deck of the space station. "Remember when we thought finding the artifact would be the end of our journey?" Alexei mused, his voice low. "Turns out, it was just the beginning." Lena, her arms wrapped around herself, sighed. "The beginning of what, though?" "We've seen the universe in a way no one else has, but I can't help feeling more lost than ever." Raj, leaning against the viewport, smiled wryly. "Maybe that's the point, to realize that being lost is just part of the journey. We've been given a chance to explore not just the universe, but ourselves." The crew shared a moment of silent understanding, a bond forged in the heart of the cosmos, unbreakable and profound. Captain Mirov, her eyes alight with a quiet determination, turned to her crew. "Our journey doesn't end here. We've been changed by what we've seen, and it's our duty to carry that forward. The universe is vast, and its mysteries are endless, but so is our capacity for wonder and discovery." As they stood together, gazing out at the infinite expanse, the crew of the Erebus knew that their journey had irrevocably altered the course of their lives. They had ventured into the unknown and returned with a new understanding of the cosmos and of themselves. "We may not have all the answers," Lena said, her voice steady, "but we have a new perspective, and that's a good place to start." Their laughter, tinged with the knowledge of the journey they had shared, filled the observation deck. They were explorers, wanderers in the vast unknown, forever changed by their encounter with the artifact. The road ahead was uncertain, but they would walk it together, their eyes open to the wonders of the universe, and their hearts ready for whatever came next. Months had passed since the Erebus crew returned from their unprecedented journey through the nebula and their encounter with the artifact that had forever altered their perception of reality. Back on Earth, their story had become one of legend. 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 Legend.